Welcome back to Kaulig Nation, your one-stop shop for all things Kaulig Racing, Digger Nation, SVG Nation, and NASCAR in general. I'm Sean, and short little update video here. There's more news coming out than we can possibly keep up with, but we're doing our best here. We're just a little while away from green flag racing for the Daytona Cup Series night race. As the title reads, SVG is going Cup racing with Trackhouse in 2025, but not in the 97, in Dale Jr. and Dale Jarrett's old number 88. So that has caught people by surprise. And also, SVG announced he would be returning to Kaulig Racing in the Xfinity Series. We're going to dive into that and more. First up, though, how do you feel about SVG running the 88 in the Cup Series full time for Trackhouse instead of the 97? And how do you feel about SVG returning to Kaulig's Xfinity program in 2025? Let's dive into what all this means here. Um, we have a couple of tweets that we put out, tweets, posts, whatever you want to call them. By the way, follow us on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Kaulig Nation. News, obviously, let's start with the 88 stuff. That stunned me. I do like as a team having your numbers 99, 88, and 1. I like that quite a bit. There's some, unity there. Those are also, big time legacy numbers in the sport of NASCAR. When I think 1, I think Jamie McMurray, Kurt Busch, Steve Park, even John Andretti for a short period of time. Um, when I think 88, the two biggest names that come to mind are obviously Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s 1 and 2's Dale Jarrett. So, Dale Jarrett ran the 88 for just such a long time when I was growing up. And then Dale Jr. ended up taking it over when he went to Hendrick. Um, and now SVG will run the 88 in the Cup Series. I'm sure there are some diehard SVG fans out there that aren't impressed that it's not going to be the 97. I think a lot of people thought it would be a foregone conclusion that it'd be the 97. Turns out that is not the case. I like it. I can't wait to see some of the paint schemes with the 88. Keeping in mind, I don't have the history with SVG that all you do with him in the 97. But the 88 for me is a historic NASCAR number. So the fact that that number is making its return and that SVG is going to run it, I'm really happy about that. Thrilled that SVG is going to get such a, in my opinion, prestigious honor to run that number in the Cup Series. Turns out, though, he's probably going to get to run the 97 some more, as he mentioned during his presser that he will run Xfinity races with Kaulig Racing next year. SVG will not be limited to the 5-start rule most Cup drivers are. SVG mentioned wanting to make starts on road courses and ovals. AJ Allmendinger will likely make his limited 5 Xfinity starts, and Kaulig is set to name a full-time driver to the number 16 soon, maybe as soon as Darlington. Unless I've failed miserably, this means that Matt Kaulig, Chris Rice, and the Kaulig family will be running 4 Xfinity cars fairly often in 2025. So, an expansion on their Xfinity program. SVG and AJ are going to share a 4th car by the sounds of it, unless something falls apart between now and next season. That's always possible. I would assume that SVG and AJ are going to share the 97, unless they decide to go with a different number for that 4th car. I wouldn't rule out the possibility that he could end up running races with Junior Motorsports instead, given that Trackhouse has a relationship with them through Connor Zilish. But the fact that SVG himself brought up Kaulig and Chris Rice and Matt Kaulig makes me think that that's almost a done deal there. I spoke with a reporter I don't want to name because I haven't asked for permission from it, but the name that they've heard for Kaulig Racing in the 16 car Xfinity car next season and for seasons to come is in fact Christian Eckes. And then Lee Spencer was just on Sirius Satellite Radio, if they still call it that, or Sirius XM, whatever, and definitely made reference to the Christian Eckes rumors while touching on possible given possible hints for who the driver for the Kaulig 31 could be. We'll touch on all that in a different video, though. SVG, again, is not limited to 5 Cup or Xfinity starts next year because he has less than 3 Cup years experience, meaning SVG could be running quite frequently in the Kaulig Racing 97 next year. My guess is AJ is going to end up taking Nashville for Kaulig and then probably 4 other road courses. And then SVG is likely going to get 2 or 3 road courses with probably, a dozen or more oval starts, would be my guess. Money pending, of course. Trackhouse is going to have to be in control of the funding there. But just some wild news today regarding all this. Lots of SVG news. A big SVG day ahead of his Daytona Cup Series debut tonight. Just an exciting day for SVG, for Trackhouse, for Kaulig Racing. Sounds like Kaulig Racing is going to have another exciting weekend next weekend. Sounds like they might not be as far off of naming the 31 driver as we thought. I think, we'll touch on that in a different video. But what are your thoughts on SVG running the 88 for Trackhouse, returning to Kaulig Racing in Xfinity? By the way, they could run him out there 20 times next year in a Kaulig Xfinity car. It just depends what they choose to do. Again, he is not limited. I'm sure they will look at the schedule and decide what's best. It also means the Kaulig Racing, like I said earlier, is going to run 4 cars fairly frequently next year in the Xfinity series in a lineup that looks like, barring something going wrong, it could look like Daniel Dye, Christian Eckes, Josh Williams, and a combination of SVG and AJ Allmendinger. I would say the Kaulig's Xfinity lineup is looking quite good for next season. So, and we had heard prior that there was rumors of them running 4 full-time cars. I don't think that 4th car is going to be full-time, but I also don't think it's going to be all that far off of being a full-time car. So Kaulig expanding their Xfinity program. That's a big investment too from Matt Kaulig. It's a big investment from Justin Marks at Trackhouse if they're going to be the ones providing the funding for SVG to do those races. And then obviously I'm always excited for AJ to run more. Let us know in the comment section down below what you think of this news today. I'm absolutely stoked for it. Stoked for SVG fans. Stoked for Kaulig fans. It's not very often where we get to talk about a bunch of positive news. There's still more news coming out. Zane Smith might be on his way to FRM. Chandler Smith, who the hell knows? I still think there's a possibility he could reunite with Kaulig, but fences would need to be mended there and bridges needed to be rebuilt. We'll see what happens. We'll see you tomorrow. We have a video scheduled for tomorrow and probably several more this week heading into Darlington next week. Enjoy the race tonight. Have a great end of your weekend. Keep a smile on that face.